Welcome to Nugget 165 with Steve Groman, and today we have a very special guest, and we will let him introduce himself. This will be a multi-part series.
My name is Ranger Krulish, and I'm a New York State Forest Ranger police officer who works for the Department of Environmental Conservation.
How long have you been doing this?
I'm in my 34th year.
Oh, so you're a rookie.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, you either like it or you like it, huh?
I got the greatest job there is. In fact, it's more than one job. I do three jobs. I wear three different hats. Primarily, I'm a police officer, so you'd recognize me as a police officer. I have a uniform and gun belt and the tools that a police officer carries. But in addition, I'm a search and rescue expert, and I manage search and rescue missions and lead search and rescue operations.
And I want to interrupt because what's been really exciting this week is that Wayne was coming out to our meetings, but he had to miss because someone has been missing, and you have been on a search and rescue actually this week. So that is quite amazing.
As a matter of fact, there were two this week. There was one on Sunday night. I got the call about 9 o'clock at night. Missing 75-year-old man operating an ATV in Allegheny County, about 40, 50 miles away from here. So I responded to that along with other rangers and emergency fire service personnel. We located the man. We were fortunate, though. We were given the general direction that he was in, and with the aid of modern technology, drones that were utilized, we were able to quickly rescue him.
Was he in trouble?
Oh, he was in trouble. He was bewildered. He was...
It's a good thing y'all found him.
Yes, it sure is. He was checked medically. He didn't have to go to the hospital, but he had a rough experience. His ATV burned up on him out in the forest there, and he was lucky not to have been burned himself.
And what was the second one?
The second one, the call came Monday morning. The subject is a 22-year-old autistic male, high functioning, but he was missing since Saturday night. Sunday morning, we got the call. Saturday night, he was last seen, but he had a routine and walk as far as 2 or 3 miles away, but he didn't come home, so his parents called, reported that to the Olean Police Department, and they started investigating, and they called us in for our expertise to handle the field portion of the search and to organize the volunteer fire service. We set up search blocks. We organized other resources, such as canine and ATVs and UTVs. We even searched along the Allegheny River. There's specialized teams that have specialized boats for the river, and they searched along the banks as well. Locate this man. To date, we haven't located him.
Oh, that's too bad.
It's sad, especially when you put yourself in the position of the families who are missing a loved one and they're not sure of their whereabouts. It makes it a high pressure, and we deal with the people, and oftentimes if we find a subject, a person who's lost or injured, and they're deceased, we have to talk to the parents and the loved ones. We're there for the friends and family, and we see that. In the same manner as police officers and other emergency personnel who respond emergency incidents do as well.
What kind of time frame did they call it in versus when he should be home? They give him an extra 10 minutes or 3 hours? And what's normal when that kind of thing happens?
In this case, they called in at 10:30. He was usually in by 10 o'clock.
It was soon.
Yes. But you refer to a good point there, or a thought I had is that oftentimes we don't get the call until many days afterwards.
Right. That's what I was curious about that.
Right.
So this guy's MO was the same. 10 o'clock was 10 o'clock.
He was structured.
He was structured with this.
Absolutely. He had his routine.
Well, we'll just pray that he's being protected somewhere and he will be found soon. And how many people are out on this rescue? Is it a 24-hour thing that's going on?
Not 24 hours. Oftentimes we try not to do operations at night if we don't have to, unless it's an immediate emergency. For instance, there's an area in northern Cattaraugus County. It's our most remote area where there's no communications, cell phones don't work, and a lot of people get injured. It's called Zore Valley, multiple use area, and it consists of a gorge. It's kind of a mini Grand Canyon. People fall off at the top, and people get injured in the water. It's swift-moving water. You're not supposed to be there at night. There's rules and regulations. No use from sunset to sunrise, but people still go there and sneak in there and try to camp or fish or do other activities and spend time there. It's a very beautiful location. I wish someday I have to visit that location with you guys when you're in the area.
That'd be nice.
We crossed over into Pennsylvania to go see some beautiful sights because we are so close to Pennsylvania. You guys work together a lot, I presume.
We do. In fact, on this search, we notified Pennsylvania State Police, and we did have a crew from Otto Township, which is in Pennsylvania, come up to help us out as well. So there is cooperation between states as well as agencies, because we all try to work together for the benefit to protect and serve the public. We are police officers as well. We enforce all aspects of New York State law. We do it primarily pursuant to our special duties, which is protecting. We oversee care, custody, and control of state forest land. So we oversee camping areas. We make sure that the permit requirements are enforced, make sure that people are using the area safely. A lot of people like to target shoot. There's a lot of activities that go on that conflict with this conflict amongst user groups. There might be a horse trail that mountain bikes want to use or dirt bikes want to run. It creates conflict amongst the user groups.
Like so hunters, is hunting allowed on the state lands?
Yes, hunting is allowed on the state forest land. But in that regard, the laws change over time. There used to be no regulation on tree stands. The situation we were having is one hunter would put up multiple tree stands and store them there and have them up year round. So they were staking out their own little hunting preserve because most hunters
respect that.
Yes, they do. They do. So now you can't put the tree stands up until big game season. Yeah. And you got to take them down.
Do y'all come across poachers and just people that push the limit?
Yes, we rely upon the public to identify those people. Yeah. An interesting thing just came to mind that you mentioned that. A deer decoy, you're aware of deer
yes.
decoy?
Yeah.
And they do details where they'll set up a deer decoy out in the field because they want to see who's going to stop and shoot from the vehicle. A deer decoy, similar to a duck decoy, is a life-size replica of a deer. It's a model of a deer. For all intents and purposes, if you looked at that model, you would think that's a real deer. Antlers on it. In fact, they even have it mechanized that the head will move and swivel from side to side. Officers will set that up in a field as road hunters, they call them. People come by driving down the road, see it, they'll stop and they'll shoot from their vehicle or shoot with the gun rested on the vehicle, which is unsafe. Here's the humorous part about it is oftentimes they'll shoot, and you know when you shoot, if you ever shot at any animal, they're startled, but then they immediately react and they run away. Well, the deer decoy is not going to run away. It's going to stay there. But people will still come up with a second shot.
Keep shooting.
One fella, and here's the fun part about it is we had, and it was fun, that we had a van set up on the side of the road that had a camera in it. So we had this all on film. And we have film of one hunter getting out of the vehicle, raises up the gun to his shoulder, sights the deer in, shoots. It doesn't move. He takes a couple steps closer to the shoulder of the road as if that's going to help, shoots again. The deer still doesn't move, and he takes a third shot. By that time, though, officers that are responding, we're up in the side roads, on the driveways or the other roads, access roads back in the woods, and then we drive up to him, and we ended up detaining him and issuing violations for the violations that he committed.
Well, I presume you're putting these up in spots that are hot spots for these road people.
Exactly. It's not just hit or miss. And
you know that this is an area that this is what's
right. But what you have too is safety. People in the rural areas, they experience it all the time. There's certain poachers or outlaws will shoot deer. They'll also spotlight for deer. And so it disrupts the community, and the community doesn't feel safe, or people don't feel safe. Well, they'll know one individual who is a poacher, so they'll set this up as a detail in that area. They'll target those areas where it's necessary.
Are they usually locals, or are they coming from a community down the road somewhere?
That's an ongoing discussion. Not bone of contention, but there are local outlaws, and there are outlaws that come from the city. They're all over. There's oftentimes an idea that reigns around here that people from the city, you better watch out that they're going to shoot at anything that moves.
Yeah.
They're going to be less cautious because they really want to get that deer. Deer season gets a lot of people excited.
That's true.
And then they let safety slip, which is our concern. Our main concern is in the care, custody of public lands and on private land is for the public's safety.
Right.
We don't want injuries. We don't want fatalities. We don't want hunter-related shooting incidents. And they've diminished greatly over the years with the hunter education program that New York State conducts.
That's good.
It's pretty intense.
A lot of people that are listening to this, they think New York, and everybody just, I hate to tell you this, they just jumped to Manhattan. They don't realize how rural and rugged and gorgeous the rest of New York is.
Absolutely. Well, everybody has that connotation, stigma. First thing they think of is New York City, and that's such a small part of New York State overall.
Right.
It's absolutely gorgeous. We have always enjoyed coming to New York, and there's so much to see and do. Do you know how much land the state owns? How much is it actually in state land trust or whatever it would be called?
I thought there's about 8 million acres of public lands.
And how far do you travel?
I serve in Cattaraugus County. State job, but our districts, mine happens to be Cattaraugus County. Rangers are more concentrated in the Adirondacks. There's more rangers in a given area because the Adirondack Preserve, there's so much public lands. So they may have one or two towns when we have a whole county. Our forest ranger here might have a whole county to go.
Well, it makes sense just by demand of...
Some of those counties up in the Adirondacks, they're in almost entirely state land. There's a lot of state forest, Adirondack Preserve land up there.
Well, it's enormous. If you look at a map of New York State, there is a big blob of green over there. And we've actually shown that in one of our previous 2 Nuggets where we interviewed a gentleman who worked for the USGS. And he talked about working in different areas of the Adirondacks. And we showed that map.
Even within the Adirondacks, it's diverse. There's the High Peaks area of the eastern Adirondacks, as well as the Adirondack lowlands to the western part of the Adirondacks, which border up against Tug Hill, which is famous as it's the snow capital of the eastern part of the country, definitely New York State. They get mountains of snow, of lake effect snow coming off of Lake Ontario, and there'll be snow as early as October still, and it'll still snow in May up on Tug Hill, and that's where it's been a blessing in that there's a lot of organized snowmobile trails. People where the snow isn't as dependable. In other areas in New York State, they'll go up there, and there's miles and miles of marked trails, groomed trails on Tug Hill.
You know, I think this is a good place for us to stop, and we will pick up in the next Nugget. Thank you.